what got me into to playing music, heavy music. I was born in, the sticks of Minnesota, small town called Cloquet. We never really got the gist of metal music, let's say, there. So when you did stumble across something new, it was usually from a friend, or maybe you found it in a bargain bin or whatever, or something like that. And my initial turn on, of course, was Kiss. And I'm still a Kiss fanatic to this day, collect the toys, yada yada yada. But and then we really relied a lot off of radio back then. I'm 40 years old, so I'm 5, 6, 7 years old, experimenting with what my parents would allow me to listen to. Not that they really had a control over it. I mean, my first cassette that I ever had was Highway to Hell. So my mom actually, trusted me that I wasn't going to turn into some serial killer by handing me the Highway to Hell cassette. And it just kind of graduated from there, and I actually found, if I remember correctly, Iron Maiden, Peace of Mind, and what drew me to that was just the album cover in general. The Wicked Eddie looking in the pad cell. You're like, this has got to be some sort of heavy music of some sort. So I ended up buying that, and I still love Maiden. I collect everything from Iron Maiden as well. So Iron Maiden and Kiss are like my two faves. So and then I just graduated from there, collecting the magazines, and actually, I'll still admit it to this day. Speak of the Devil was one of my favorite albums back then, and not Speak of the Devil, Shout at the Devil, excuse me. I was the little Motley Crue kid, and it just graduated. But back in Minnesota, you still had stuff to pick from. I was jamming Rainbow before I even knew that Ryan James Dio was about to embark with Black Sabbath and do his own thing and blah 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 blah. And I was finding this stuff in my brother and my sister's vinyl collections, just going, is this what metal music is? And it just graduated. Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, Rainbow, and Ritchie Blackmore was just an amazing guitarist for that time in creating heavy rock and roll. And yeah, I'd have to say, Kiss and Iron Maiden, that Rainbow album, Long Live Rock and Roll, was another one. Uriah Heep. There's just so many countless albums that I can think of. AC/DC, of course, everything all the way up to, Back in Black, me and my brother shared in our cassette collection. And of course, it just, the heavier the music got, the more I just continued to cling on to the heaviness of the music. What kind of made me want to play the music is my brother, my whole family was very influential on things that I did in life, whether it be music or sports. But my brother Kurt always wanted to be, the musician, and he always had something going. He had a garage band with some friends in high school, and the bassist actually had, the big blue Fender bass like Steve Harris and stuff, and Iron Maiden was his favorite band. And as much as I love sports, still playing sports, I still, wanted to be, learn how to do this instrument, this big blue beast that I never got a chance to even touch, But looking at it made me want, to experiment with it. I had an old acoustic guitar. I used to jump around my room thinking I was Angus Young, and or you flip, put another record on there, now I'm Gene Simmons, and whatever. As I moved out here, as I moved to Denver from my small town Cloquet, Minnesota, moved out here, and I started 8th grade, and I still dabbling with the heavy music and stuff like that. But then as I got in further into 8th grade, started catching on to more friends that were just like me. The guy wearing the Iron Maiden t-shirt or the Sabbath shirt, and next thing you know, now we're all friends. You graduate into the 9th grade, and that's when you met more people, and you're like, wow, this dude wants to play guitar too? Well, so do I. This dude too. Wow, you want to learn how to play the drums? Holy shit. Next thing you know, now you got 4 or 5 guys that are like, let's try something. And what made me really, just watching bands on TV or whatever is what made me want to play the instrument. I never thought that I would ever actually embark and be in a band or a part of any scene. I didn't even know there was even anything called a freaking scene for the most part. But as far as trying to get in, I just wanted to play the instrument, and I didn't think of how heavy I wanted to be or what sound that I wanted. My first real guitar was an electric guitar that we would actually plug into an old stereo, you know. It actually had a guitar jack in this 1974 stereo, and you would turn it on, and you're like, that's not how freaking Dave Murray's guitar sounds, like that's not. So what am I doing wrong here, And then of course things pick up from there. I definitely went to plenty of shows before I actually began in a band or anything, and that was just from the same way it is today. You go to a record store, there's a flyer. What's this all about? Hey, this venue is not too far from my house, and let me see if my parents will let me go. Well, at that time, my brother was my parent, so, and will he let me go? And I caught on to a few of these local bands from the early '80s: Legion of Death, Violent Degenerates, the Acid Pigs, Aberrant was another band. And sometimes you catch 4 of those dudes in one gig, so you're just like, oh, and you'd rob your penny jar to take the bus and go to these shows for $3-4 or whatever it was. And one of the bands that really turned me wanting to now try to form a band was the Violent Degenerates and the Legion of Death. And watching them perform was so breathtaking, and it looked like it was so much fun, and people wanted to come and experience what you created, give a shit what you look like or how you act, or they wanted to experience what you created live. And the scene back then, there's 200-300 kids there on a Tuesday night. Nowadays you're lucky to get 40 people there on a Saturday, but I mean back then all the metalheads, it seemed like, in the state of Colorado were in one venue to see 5 bands, and that was so exhilarating to me. And those are some of my most fondest memories of seeing some of those old bands at some of these old clubs. It's just amazing. I mean, I still got a box of flyers that I have of stuff from my old bands to bands that I just went and saw, and a lot of it's local. A lot of it's local stuff.